Hey there! In this video we're going to look at 3 ways you can add an item to a course calendar in Schoology. I'm here at the course dashboard, and from here the first option that may catch your eye is this calendar icon in the upper right corner. This icon, no matter what screen you're on, is always going to show, and no matter what screen you click on it from, it's always going to take you to this main view that shows you all your different calendars at once. You can also customize that so you can only see certain calendars. I have only some of mine checked. You can also change the colors of any of these calendars by clicking on the color. So from here though, if I double click on a date, it brings up a create event box. I can also switch midway and say, never mind, I want this to be an assignment. An event is just simply something with a description and a title and a due date. There's nothing that the student's going to upload or turn in. If you change your mind and say, ooh, I'd actually like my students to be able to turn something in or upload, then you can switch to an assignment. Personally, if I'm going to create an assignment though, I go back to the course and I do it through add materials and then choose assignment, because that way I can more easily put it in the correct folder and keep my organization system in place. So let's go back and take a look at that event. It's going to give me a choice of date, and then I can put in a start time if I want. If I add a start time and I want to add an end time, I'm going to click on add end time as well, and that will give me that end time. I'm going to go ahead and remove end time for my purposes. So here you might say something like, read chapter 9 and take notes. So this is something my students are not going to have to upload something for. However, if I wanted to add a description, or you can even insert content, like you could put an image or a hyperlink, or something from your Google Drive or a YouTube video, you can do that. You can also come down here and add a file, a link, a Google Drive attachment, or you can record audio or video right here. By default, comments are enabled, so students could add comments and read each other's comments to this event, but you can also just turn that off. But options is the thing to pay attention to, because this is where teachers get confused. Right now, if you click on this calendar icon, it's always going to default to your personal calendar, and the personal calendar is actually called Me. So if you create the event here and you don't add the student's calendar or your course calendar here, the students aren't going to be able to see it. So the first thing I do is I X out of personal calendar, and then you're just going to type in the calendar, the name of the class that you want to put this in. But you can actually add it to multiple courses too if you wanted. Let's say I also wanted to put it in this one. You can add as many as you want. Or you can say, oh, never mind, I didn't want to add it to that one, I can just hit X. But once you're all done, you're going to hit create, and now you have this event right here. The main thing is making sure you get it into that correct calendar. If you go back afterwards and you say, I want to make some changes, you can click on it and click edit item. You can change the title, the description, the date, and the time, but you can't change which class you assigned it to, which is kind of a bummer. So if that happens and you just accidentally put it in the wrong calendar, you can delete the item. You don't delete it through edit, which is kind of confusing. You actually go to view item to delete it, and you go to the gear symbol and do delete. So that is that. So personally, I think that is the one that's most likely to lead you to making a mistake and forgetting to put it in the correct calendar. The other 2 options I feel like are less likely to cause that issue. So let's look at another option. When you first go to Schoology, you default to the course dashboard. If you click this tab here though, the recent activity, it gives you some choices. I can quickly create an update for my class, an assignment, an event, or a blog post. Blog post isn't really something you're going to use, but if I go to event from here, I get that exact same box I had a second ago, and the only difference is under options, instead of defaulting to your personal calendar, it's blank. It just says post to. I feel like that leaves it less likely for me to make a mistake. I'm not going to accidentally put it in my personal calendar, so I can just say Colby Playground. But the rest of it's all the same. So that's another option for creating an event. And then the third option is for especially for folks who were used to this method in Blackboard, is if you just don't want to run the risk of putting it in the wrong calendar, you can go to your actual class and create the event. What's throwing people off is a lot of us who use Blackboard will go to their class and then they go up here to the calendar icon and you click on it expecting it to just take you to this course, but again, this button will only take you to that main view and will always default to the personal calendar. So if you wanted to go by default, go to this particular class, you actually want to pick this little button over here. So I clicked on my class and then I go over here to the day of the week calendar. This opens up the calendar, but it's only the one for this particular class. So now if I click on it, you'll notice that under options, it automatically knew to put it in the class that I had open. Doesn't prevent me from going ahead and adding another class. So I could say, I could add other classes from this view, but it does default to the class I have open, which is really nice. But other than that, everything's the same, and again, I can switch it to an assignment. And then another thing to notice is that this little button will open up the calendar for this class only, but this button, the Add Event button, will actually just pull up event. And you'll notice I don't even have the option to put it in a calendar because it's automatically going just into this particular course's calendar. I don't even have to think about that part. So that's an even easier option, really, is to click that Add Event button. So one last side note about calendars. Some folks have asked about things like setting due dates. So like I have a folder. What if I only wanted my students to view it from a certain time? If I go into edit, for availability and dates, even folders have these availability and dates, but if you add a start date and an end date for this folder, let's say I put it in for 2 weeks. Let's say I said from today, and I added the end date of 2 weeks from now. If I do that, and then I go back to my calendar and look, it's gonna show it as like it's like kind of messy. It's 2 whole weeks of this calendar of this folder in here. It's not really what I intended. So if it's not something that's an actual assignment and it's not just like the due date for that, it's one due date, you probably, instead of using this availability dates, I would get rid of this. And instead take advantage of this published feature. You can choose to just make it unpublished for now, so that students can't see it. And then when you're ready for them to see it, you can just go to Publish All, and then the students can see it. And then you don't have to worry about it showing up in their calendar, because you just are really wanting to control when they can see it and not necessarily when it's due per se. So I hope that clears up a little bit about how to add items in your calendar. If you have any questions about this or anything tech related, don't hesitate to reach out to your digital learning coach today.